Hello and good evening. Thank you for joining us today on our live stream. My name is Julianne Romanillo, and I'm based in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I've been uh, very involved in the struggle for freedom and truth and liberty and peace in the crisis situation that we're facing. So I'm excited that we're going to have a panel of six of us to talk about what's going on in the United Kingdom and in the United States. We're all facing a crisis that none of us ever would have imagined that we would be facing. So we want to express solidarity with our friends and neighbors from across the pond and give some ideas for keeping grounded in what is an insane world and for trying to move ourselves and those who we love and know out of this. So I just want to thank you for being here. We have several people tonight. We're gathered, united in our apperception of the social, political, intellectual, and spiritual crisis that we face today. That crisis is inextricably linked to the COVID 19 pandemic, which was established 1 year ago today by the World Health Organization. But I think it's important to note that this crisis that we're facing is not, strictly speaking, a result of the coronavirus. Rather, as executives from IBM and the World Economic Forum have reminded us time and time again, uh, the COVID 19 pandemic has merely accelerated forces that were already in motion. So, what are those forces and what are they aiming at? Well, we can look at the World Economic Forum's website and we can read about the Fourth Industrial Revolution. That is a program that's marked by the conjunction of physical, biological, and digital technologies. It includes massive shifts toward automation, connectivity in all aspects of our life, disruptions in traditional sectors of industry and commerce, public services, and models of governance. Also in our culture and family life. And this affects everyone across the globe. This is really a global coup, we might say. And we're going to have to fight it globally together. Which is ironic since they use this term, we're all in this together. They use it in a nefarious way, and I think that we should take it over and shift it toward a positive and life affirming way. But anyway, so we have each of the individuals who is here. Uh, we understand that the pandemic is really an excuse to roll out the program of biosecurity surveillance, resilience and lifelong learning, buzzwords which sound nice, but in in reality, they are about keeping us so busy doing other people's senseless tasks that we can't possibly live a fulfilling and human life as we were designed and created to do. The fourth industrial revolution also aims at transhumanism and normalization of relations with robots and human capital profiling. So I'm convinced, and I think many of the people here are convinced, that the responses to the coronavirus pandemic are really a way of scaring people into accepting these changes that they otherwise would not consider at all. So with that said, you know, we have Kilgore Rand here. He's in Atlanta. He's with the group I Do Not Comply.org, and they're doing some great work fighting the CDC and starting lawsuits in Georgia. We have Yzabelaah Samahra Rose, who is a designer at AEVA Magazine in the UK. It is a beautiful publication. Uh, it's scholarly, it is life affirming, and I've had the pleasure of getting to know her and some of the women that she works with there over the course of the last few months. We have Radek. Uh, Now I have to see how you've got to tell me how you pronounce it again.
My name is Radosław Kaliszuk.
Kalishuk. Okay, this is the first time that we've actually talked, but I have seen his video work and journalism in the UK, and it is very moving. It's heartfelt. It captures, I think, the most essential struggles that we as human beings are dealing with. And he hails originally from Poland. So that's why if you looked at our description, you'll see and Poland too. Uh, Next, we have Yvonne Rutkowski, who is in New York City, the sort of epicenter of things in the United States. And I met her through Facebook. She's an activist working to, you know, help New Yorkers see themselves better. She's done some amazing photography work and has a heart for people. And she also hails from Poland originally. So it's amazing how that works out. And then lastly, we have Dosnez or Darren, who is in London. He's got a paper, The Light, which is a rebel British truth paper. It's wonderful. I wish we would copy it here in the States. You know, we're always copying British things. And he's got an app coming out and, you know, many other exciting things. So we've got a great crew here, and I'll just turn it over. Radek is going to start us out by giving us a sort of overview of what's going on in London, and then we'll just take it from there. Thanks so much.
Hi, Julianne. Hi, guys. Thank you for inviting me. Um, I Before this situation started, I would call myself perfect normie. I was so absorbed in running small business. Previously, I was chasing corporate career, and when it all started, I've taken this situation seriously. I implemented certain measures in my business. And once I realized that this doesn't hold water, I started researching more and more things. And then what I noticed is things were disappearing off platforms like YouTube. They were quickly suppressed. I went out to see people because protests started showing up, and I went on a second or third protest I went to in Sheffield, United Kingdom, South Yorkshire. Police stormed the crowd to make a political arrest. What happened? Police basically it was announced that organizers of the rallies would be facing fine up to £10,000. So basically, police wanted to make a I would say a spectacular arrest to reach the headlines, and they went after a politician, one of the leaders of people who protest against lockdown measures. Piers Corbyn, brother of Jeremy Corbyn, famous politician in UK. So basically, that was me. I went on my one of the first protests in my life. I've never been involved in activism prior to this situation, and police stormed the crowd. And I was filming this. I was doing live stream, and once the situation unfolded, we had a quite drastic turnout of the events. When police were storming crowd, they injured one of the colleagues, one of the peaceful protesters, and nearly killed him. He was resuscitated on site, and that's how it started for me. I was like jumped into water. I was never having any deep thoughts before this. And then after I went to protest at Trafalgar Square, there was a big protest, around 40,000 people who turned there, and then police brutally suppressing it. So me being Polish, I came to UK in 2007, so 13 years in UK. But then you see, I was raised in a country where we used to have communistic regime. So for me, this just sounded the alarm bell, like we were having this situation. We were nearly at the brink of home war in Poland. We overthrown the communistic regime. We had this violence from the police, and maybe this mental notion that police or government can act against its own citizens. So that just instantly alarmed me, and then literally just went with the flow because the protests they tend to be the situation just escalated. So police become more abrupt. They overreach with the measures they were using, and I was filming this. The way I approached this, it was like my stance as a person because I passionately hate bullying, and what happened, I felt like so many people were bullied by this situation. So people who I found on the protest, there were moms, dads, someone's grandmas, granddads, mothers, fathers, people seriously worried about losing their job, about future for their kids. They weren't lunacy, conspiracy theories, anti-vaxxers, mob, or however the propaganda machine is calling them. And I felt need to balance this. And as well, maybe I first embraced the technology because one of the live streams from Trafalgar Square went viral. It had like 275,000 views.
Wow.
Later on, social media platforms they were suppressing it, but still I had like anywhere between 14,000 to 20,000 views on each of the small protests. So you could have protests where there was only 50 people who could make it physically, but then about 20,000 people were watching it. So that was important to balance this. So that's how I feel about this. Like standing in the defense of people who were bullying, like called anti-vaxxers, anti-masker, conspiracy theories. I wanted to show who are they. That's why I was showing normal people. I was showing overreach of the police, and then I was showing all these things unedited, live streaming them from start to finish for 4 hours or more, so people could see and make a judgment themselves. It wouldn't be just edited video where you see just a brutal scene and then it's taken out of context. You could see how the situation unfold, peaceful protest until X hour, and then police storming. You could clearly see that it wasn't like it was painted in the media, and that's literally over months. It took me to many places, towns. I went to several countries to connect with people. I've been to Dublin, Ireland. I've been to Berlin, big protests. I've connected with people from World Freedom Alliance. Later on, I traveled to Denmark where they hold a conference, and they got quite serious protests going on in Denmark. They make serious push on politicians. And also I went to Sweden to see how they live without lockdown. So this turned out like from really turning into a protest. It turned out for me to be a big journey, but that's really my story. I by chance become the this called citizen journalist. Yes, I started countering this propaganda machine to show people what is really going on. So that's my story so far.
Well, that's so fascinating that, I wonder if people in the US really understand what's going on in Europe right now. And, when I think of Europe, I think of England as being the freest place, right? So it was just heartbreaking and astonishing to me to see these acts of police brutality going on there. Now, maybe, I'm naive, and I'm just like you, where I was a total normie until about 2 years ago, and I had a concrete event happen in my life that started me digging. And before that, I was naive. I was raising my kids and reading my books. So I think this bigger story needs to get out, and I'm really thankful that you're helping to do that, and you do it in such a humane way. I think anyone who watches your footage will definitely see that. So, okay, so I think Kilgore, would you like to tell us a little bit about what's going on in Atlanta?
Absolutely. And Julianne, thank you so much for putting this together and for including me in it and including I Do Not Comply, my organization. We're just honored to be part of this with freedom fighters all across the world. So I'm very grateful to be here. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I started I Do Not Comply on 4th of July weekend 2020 because I could no longer sit by while our rights were being stolen from us, while tyranny was taking hold, and it was all in the name of public safety. So that is the mission statement of my organization, is that we are a nonpartisan, nonprofit, civil rights advocacy group dedicated to reclaiming our lives and liberties from tyranny disguised as public safety. And that's what all of this has been. Mm-hmm. And as we know through history, it's for your own good, it's for your own safety has been the alibi and the excuse of tyrants. And we are standing up to say we are not going to live masked up. We are not going to allow the governments or corporations to dictate who amongst us are essential and non-essential, to tell us how we can operate our businesses, to tell us the conditions in which our children have to be tested and isolated. This is insanity, and we're rising up to stop it. And like Rad was talking about, going out and doing investigative journalism, citizen journalism. We've been doing some of that, where I've gone to one of the field hospitals in Atlanta for the COVID patients. We spent hours trying to find it. A field hospital that they've spent, tens of millions of dollars of federal money erecting to handle the overage from the hospitals of COVID patients, and we couldn't find a shred of it. We couldn't find one ambulance. We couldn't find any nurses or doctors. So it begs the question, where is that money going? Other things that we have been actively doing is we're holding rallies, like you had mentioned in the beginning of this. We are doing a rally this weekend in front of the CDC in Atlanta. The headquarters for the Center for Disease Control is in Atlanta. So we have the benefit of that being in our backyard. So we can take the fight right to them. This is a picture from the last time that we did a rally back in August at the CDC. And as you can see, we had a tremendous turnout. My good friend Kevin Jenkins from the Urban Global Health Alliance was there. He gave an impassioned speech. He will be back this Saturday doing that, as well as Dr. Eric Plasker, who is a wellness leader and who is a best-selling author, activist, educator, and humanitarian, Riza Islam, and of course, Peggy Hall, if anybody has been following. Yeah. Peggy Hall, she's really become a national freedom leader in this fight to defend our rights. And she'll be appearing via a special live stream from California. In addition to doing rallies, we've also, we took up the charge that Joshua Coleman and his V for Vaccine group led in doing these banner drops to bring awareness about the COVID-19 vaccines and how the vaccine manufacturers are exempt from liability. So this is one of those banner drops that we did in Georgia. The first one we did was the weekend of following Thanksgiving, which here in the United States is the busiest travel day on the highways. So we estimate that thousands and thousands of folks saw that message. Another thing that we've been doing is we've been running 2 different billboard designs throughout Georgia and other parts in the Southeast, including South Carolina. These are those 2 designs, right? So it's not about a virus, it's about control with the biometric ID, fingerprint there, because that's where all this is headed, like you had mentioned. This is about erecting a biosecurity police state to control and catalog every human being on the planet. And then the bottom one is, it's just a mask, it's just a vaccine, it's just our freedoms. Yeah. And that's what we've seen. We've seen this has been the boiling of the frog, little by little. 15 days to slow the spread. And here we are a year later talking to mark the anniversary of this. And then here's a couple of those billboards in action, which I have to say, it was quite a thrill to actually see them that large and on a beautiful LED screen. Each one would flash for, they'd be up there for like 30 seconds to a minute, and then the other one would play. And it's just amazing. You know, we were turned down by billboard companies that wouldn't run them because it was too controversial. And then we ended up finding people that were willing to do it pro bono because they believed in the cause.
Yeah,
And
that's really encouraging.
That's cool.
And then one of the other thing that we're doing is we've brought the first lawsuit in the state of Georgia challenging Governor Brian Kemp's executive COVID orders. And our brief puts forth that, you know, his orders, like the orders from all the other states across the country, have violated definitely the federal constitution, but in most cases, they're state constitutions.
Mm-hmm.
And we hope that our lawsuit, which is now pending to go before a judge within the next week, because the governor was served on February 16th, and they have 30 days to answer him being served. We hope that it will set a precedent that this government overreach can never, ever be done again. As our attorney, Alex Johnson, who is representing us, mentioned the other day when I was speaking with him on a live stream, he said the only thing that's remotely comparable to this level of government overreach that we've seen in America was the Japanese American internment camps during World War II, when the government could literally say, hey, you're an American citizen, you've done nothing wrong, you're not a criminal, but we're going to take you and we're going to put you basically in a camp, or we're gonna take away all your rights, suspend all your rights as a free American citizen, because we deem it's the best for the safety of our country. Yeah. And in that instance, we were dealing with America was at war with another foreign power, and the thought was, even though we look back and in hindsight, that it was completely immoral and unethical to do this to Japanese Americans. But the argument was that these people could potentially be enemy combatants. But what our government has done to us is they locked us all down. And they said we are all, just by breathing air, just by being human beings, we are potential threats, potential biohazards. And this is lunacy. They don't have the authority in the law to do it. And that we're hoping our lawsuit will prove that and set a precedent that this level of government overreach can never happen again.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, what's so striking about this is that we're really dealing with a situation in which everyone is guilty until they are proven innocent. On so many levels, on a criminal level, on, if you think of it in terms of disease and health, you are presumed diseased until you're proven healthy. And we know that the tests are flawed. We know that there are huge monetary gains to be had by rolling out the testing regimen that is being advocated for right now, because they don't want to use the PCR test as part of the regimen. They want a different kind of test that, we're all going to use twice a week at home. And it's just nuts. It's absolutely nuts. And I hope I'm really impressed with how successful you've been, because in Oklahoma, where I am, and that's in the heartland of the U.S., we're really a captured state. And we have lawsuits that are going here in Tulsa, but the courts have turned those cases down, or they have stalled. So it's, we're really looking to other states to, sort of crack that ice, and other countries as well. In Europe, they're doing some great things. I think lawsuits coming out of Germany, and maybe it was Denmark too. They had a couple of them. So it really is fascinating. I keep using that word, to see how all of our efforts on the local level really do have a global they have a global, I'm trying to avoid the word impact, because if you read my stuff, you'll know why, but they have a global reach that is so important to all of us. So thanks so much for being involved in that, and really fighting for us here at home. I think, Yzabelaah, you were going to give us an overview of your work and how you're responding to the developments of these many different forces that are counter to life, and you've been observing them for a while, right?
Yeah. Thank you, Julianne. And it's an absolute pleasure to be here and amongst you all, and to hear you speak, Rad and Kilgore. It's really wonderful. Yeah, so AEVA Magazine is an independent magazine. It's a women's magazine, but men and women love reading it alike. The content is very relevant to everyone at this time. And in this time of intense censorship, AEVA is very much a platform for the voices of frontline activists, independent investigative journalists, researchers, healers, visionaries, who are working to unpick the threads and help us all to see what's at play in our world, and to move forward and see our way forward and create the world and the earth that we want to live in and raise our children in. And yeah, quite phenomenal women that we have in the edition that we created. Normally it's seasonal, but last year's it's called the 2020 Time Capsule, because it just kept on growing and growing what needed to be in there. So yeah, I'm going to read a little bit here to remind me what I want to say. But at this time, we have this opportunity to reclaim ourselves from the lies and deceit of a system that's trajectory is set for mass destruction of not only our ecosystem, which is devastation enough, but the intrinsic biology of our bodies and minds and souls. And until an individual man or woman is able to see the size and scope of the betrayal that is acted upon humanity, then those of us that are speaking of the immediate threat of transhumanism and the fourth industrial revolution seem a bit wacky, to say the least. We reclaim ourselves by extracting ourselves from the sixth system, withdrawing our consent, and rebuilding our lives as living men and women upon this earth, creating land-based projects to grow food, learning the skills to grow this food, and creating alternative learning environments for our sons and our daughters. It seems clear to me that this is a spiritual war, and that the work to free ourselves is as much within ourselves as without. There is a cold, stark genius to the intelligence that is behind the design and orchestration of everything that we see at play now upon the earth. And the levels of its complexity are deep and wide. Any movement that grows, any momentum, is likely infiltrated and co-opted or attempted so. And discernment is essential for each of us in each moment. The three keys that I would like to offer that, from my journey of being an activist and speaking out, and very much as a woman who identified with the Green movement for many years and saw myself as a woman who was very connected to the earth, wanted to live simply in a way that we can take care of this earth and our resources. When I kind of began to see the rollout of 5G, the launch of 5G in 2015, and then seeing things like Extinction Rebellion and Greta Thunberg, and how those players were being used to actually roll out the fourth industrial revolution and the technology that is harming our planet. So that was a huge wake up for me, and speaking out about that, I found was a bit like a death. In the community that I live in is very alternative and very green in the kind of identifying with that narrative that's been constructed. And yeah, it's been quite a journey to speak out when there is such a lack of reception. But we do have we do have a community of folk who can see what's at play. And yeah, the keys for me at the moment is for me, what's clear is that artificial intelligence and the energies behind it do not have the heart that is we house in our living bodies. And the field of the heart is massive and communicates to all that we connect with. And this feels like a key for me, is that we stay deeply connected to our hearts in this time, and we listen and we follow and we inhabit them. And yeah, and also protection, because the energies that we are engaging with here and seeing are very dark. And so a practice of protecting oneself, shielding oneself, and asking for that field around. And the other piece of research that I'm doing at the moment, which feels immensely helpful for me, is I'm studying something that's called the law for mankind. And it's about recognizing that how when we are born, our mothers and fathers, when they register us for a birth certificate, we are registered within a legal fiction, which has us as a corporation and as a person. And this is a lot how they're getting away with a lot, I feel, that's at play, is because a citizen, which I've heard used today, and I'm not an expert on this at all, but the citizen is within the public domain, and a citizen does not have the rights a man, a living man or woman has. So when we claim ourselves as a man and a woman, and we learn our rights and how to uphold those rights. So I've been engaging in that journey, and it feels immensely empowering. And I've been working with a couple of men, actually. One is in the US and one is in the UK here. And yeah, it feels like a very key piece, because it's about knowing our rights and learning how to write notices that can stand up in court, and we can claim our rights for ourselves. And yeah, an example of what how I saw this yet today, there was a petition that was, well, it wasn't a petition, it was a government consultation, and it was asking for the public to give their views about digital ID. And as you can imagine, it had a lot of people filling it in, and it was very lengthy. And I had a look at it to tune into it, because obviously these things I know are designed really not to really stop the plans that they're working on. And what I noticed first was that you had to say you were either a public citizen or an organization. So both of those things, you're diminishing yourself by ticking it. And it felt like it was how they get the consent. Basically, you're confirming that you're a citizen and that they basically can make those choices. So yeah, I'm reclaiming that tool to write as a woman, to other men and women and hold them accountable for any harm that they may cause me and my children. Yeah.
I think that is so beautiful and inspiring. And, you know, I've been learning a little bit about the common law tradition, and, you know, in our legal tradition here, it was Justice Herbert Story at the very, you know, at our founding, who was a real common law justice, or he frequently invoked the common law in the Supreme Court, and that really fell out of favor. And it's interesting to look back and to think, you know, he was so boring to read, but now I wish I'd paid more attention to him, because I think we have really bought into the legalese. We have been so deceived, and I think that is part of the difficulty in recognizing the hoax that we're in right now, is that all of us have to admit that there are things that we did not understand, that we didn't pay attention to, or that we simply got wrong. And that's difficult. But when we view ourselves with grace and charity, and we reclaim ourselves and our hearts, then I think that recognition won't hold you back. It actually liberates you to, you know, to say all the things that people are going to accuse you of being a wacko for. But I think your work is so important because it does dive to those deeper levels, and it takes on those dark forces that we're going to have to wrestle with. And it takes, I think, very strong people to do that. And we certainly want our children to be able to do that. So thank you so much, Yzabelaah. Yvonne is another person who I've met through social media. I can't remember exactly how we got connected, but I just knew that I could read your words, and I knew that you were a beautiful soul. And so Yvonne is in New York City, and she's going to give us a bit of a picture of what's going on there, and how it's changed over the past year.
Yes, so there's a lot going on in New York City, and I came to America in 1985 from Poland, just like Rad, and from socialist Poland. And I've never been an activist. I've never done this type of work, and it seems to me that right now I'm working two jobs, basically a full-time job. I work full-time, and also organizing these events. And when I go to the events, I really like to capture this crisis of our times with pictures. I really like photography. And I went to my first rally in Albany, and I met some people there, and we started organizing events in Union Square. Then there were just 6 of us, and we had flyers, we didn't wear masks. We basically wanted to educate the public about what's going on. And then we joined a larger group, also at Union Square. And I met some other activists, and then we basically started going all over the city. We've been to Javits Center, the vaccination center. We've been to Pfizer headquarters to rally against the COVID vaccine. And we also we track. There are a lot of bills in New York State Assembly that are very dangerous. There's one bill, for example, and I'm sure you have these bills in your state as well. There's a bill, A416, which basically allows Governor Cuomo to take you out of your home and isolate you if you are deemed to pose any threat to public health. So I would assume if you test positive or something like that. So we went to the office of the sponsor of this bill, Nick Perry, Mr. Perry, in Brooklyn, and we rallied in front of his office. We also went to, we are against the COVID vaccine, and we went to the residence of Linda Rosenthal, who is a Democratic Assembly person, and we rallied in front of her building, and usually we have about 15, 20 people rallying with us. We also, yes, at Union Square, we have rallies every weekend, every Sunday, and also in Madison Square Park. We have an open mic. People can speak up, which is great. And we try to, I don't think, we've been finding out that not too many people are actually aware of the Great Reset and the an Agenda 2030, which is kind of surprising, but believe it or not, in the belly of the beast, people are so brainwashed by what they see on TV. They watch CNN most of the time, that they don't really do the research, they don't really do the homework. So we do this kind of work. We try to educate people about all these evil agendas. 90% of people in New York City wear masks. I would say 95%. And it seems like they love their masks, which is very bizarre and very surreal, because people are walking outdoors and they are, even if they are not close to each other, they still wear these masks. So we also try to educate people. We have flyers about what is the harm of actually wearing a mask, how dehumanizing masks are. New York is a melting pot. It's about diversity, and there is so much talk about diversity right now, but what's happening right now is that the diversity is taken away by making everybody wear these masks. So everybody looks pretty much the same in a mask, and people have difficulty communicating with each other. And there are so many accents in New York City, and even without the mask, sometimes you have difficulty understanding, figuring out these all these amazing accents. But with a mask, it's even more difficult, if not impossible sometimes, to communicate. So this diversity is actually being deleted right now because everybody looks pretty much the same in a mask. So I'm very sensitive to this, and also my freedom fighter friends, we do a lot of speeches about masks and try to convince people to take them off, that it's not necessary, and we present all the research. But people just, I think the politicians have been exploiting the best traits of New Yorkers. New Yorkers are very kind, caring, and this trait is being exploited because they are being told, you know, you care about your neighbor, wear a mask, show your respect. And we have the propaganda is insidious. There's so much propaganda on the buses, in the subway. It's really quite overwhelming, and it's all about showing respect by wearing a mask. So that's the brainwashing that is going on. And we plan other events. We want to go because right now the city will try to roll out these passes, common pass for air travel, common health for biosensors, COVID check, access to education and employment, and all these passes are actually being worked on right now at Cornell Tech on Roosevelt Island. And I learned that from Alison McDowell, whom I follow. I follow her blog, and I've learned so much from her. So we want to go to do a rally actually at Cornell Tech, and basically show them that we really don't want these passes, and we are recruiting more and more people. We have 2 big events coming up on Saturday, the 20th of March, and on Sunday, the 21st. And it's in solidarity with a worldwide protest that will be going on the 20th. And if you go to my Facebook page, I have all this information. You can find it there. And these 2 rallies on the weekend of the 20th are going to be to raise the vibrations, to with music, with art. It's not going to be about politics. We are not even going to talk about masks or any of this stuff. We want people to see that you can actually have some fun, because it seems like with this agenda, Broadway is closed. There are no street musicians in New York City. I love to photograph them always and videotape them, and they are all gone. So New York City looks pretty grim right now and empty. And about 3 million people actually moved out of New York City, so that's another issue. So I mean, I have so much. I've been doing so much. It's really hard to summarize everything in 5 or 8 minutes. But if you go to my Facebook page, which is public, you can find out about the events that we are organizing. Oh, and just to add, you go to Metropolitan Museum, you have to wear a mask, and you have to follow the arrows on the floor, and you have to stand on the circle at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I don't go there anymore. It used to be one of my most favorite things to do over the weekend. Near Botanical Garden, you have to wear a mask. You can't, and you have to have it over your nose, so you can even smell the flowers, I guess, when they start blooming this spring. It's absolutely crazy and insidious how this masking agenda is being pushed. Just to mention one thing, we started a group, New York Stands Up, which is based on the model worked out by Pam Popper. I'm sure you are familiar with Pam Popper's work. And the attorney, Tom Rentz, started a lawsuit in Ohio, and we want to do the same in New York City, in New York State, I should say. So we want to file a lawsuit, a federal lawsuit, against Governor Cuomo, because on 3 grounds. The first one is that there is no pandemic, and we can prove it. The second is, so if there is no pandemic, there shouldn't be any emergency. There's no emergency. And then the politicians know it, and they are committing fraud. So this is going to be our lawsuit, and we already have an attorney, and we have a big group of people who joined our movement, and it's newyorkstandsup.org. Yes, so I guess my time is up. I have so much, I've been doing so much, and with my groups, and we have Telegram groups. So I just want to assure you that there is the agenda is being pushed in New York City big time. I think they are pushing it actually the hardest in New York City. So we are pushing back, and we will be pushing back. We are not going to rest and or stop, and we'll see what happens. And we have a lot of we keep creating a lot of flyers, and I also want to look at Kilgore's flyers on I Do Not Comply, because we will be using them also. And there is a big rally in Albany coming up this coming Saturday, and I'm going with a lot of people will be there. This is basically on the anniversary of the lockdowns. So there will be medical freedom speakers. There will be a lot of speakers, and we will probably have a very nice turnout there. So lots of things happening in New York.
Well, you know that it's so encouraging to hear that, because you know, we have seen the destruction of cities
Yeah.
over and over again, and I'm less familiar with how that has worked out in Europe and, you know, in other places in the world. But, you know, here in the States, we've seen the destruction of New Orleans. I mean, New Orleans never came back after Hurricane Katrina, and I remember watching it. I was in grad school in Waco, Texas at the time, and my husband and I we were watching the news, and we thought, you know, we can somehow get military aircraft halfway around the globe, but we cannot rescue people from a flood, you know, in our own country. There has to be something wrong here, you know? I mean, and it was a sick feeling, like, why on earth can we not get these people out of a, you know, a toxic environment? And that's just one example. We can look at Detroit, we can look at other places here in the States, and, you know, New York City with the Twin Towers was, you know, I think the New Yorkers have been traumatized, and I don't use that word lightly, for, you know, 2 decades now, you know? So it is particularly cruel, I think. I mean, it's happening all over in cities in the US, but it's particularly cruel in New York. I think there's a lot of significance to it happening there, and I think that has to do with some of the dark forces that I think we've all recognized. But it is exciting to see that people are pushing back and finding their voice, and that you started with 6 people, right?
Yes.
Like, it doesn't take much. It just
No.
takes you going out and talking. So,
Yeah.
you know, I've been sort of amazed with the response to my little Facebook campaign that I've had. I think people are looking for answers to what's going on. They're looking for guidance, and they're looking to people who just simply say things like Radek was talking about. You just put it out there in a way that allows and invites people to make their own judgments. We're not telling people what to think, but we're not afraid to use our voices to present alternative viewpoints, and we hope that will become infectious, right? Like that, you know, this finding of our own voices will. And speaking of voices, we have Darren with us, and he he has a sort of famous voice in this fight. I don't know if he'll tell us about that, but he's doing a lot of things around. He's from Manchester and is working all over the UK and London, and has been at these really important rallies that they're doing there. So we're excited to hear from you, Darren. Thanks for being here.
Hey, well, thanks for inviting us. It's a pleasure to
Can
be
you hear
here.
us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes,
hear
we
me
can
okay?
hear you now.
Okay.
Yes.
I was saying it's great to be among some great activists from across the world. Thanks for sorting this out, Julianne. It's yeah, it's absolutely refreshing. It's great to hear whatever, you know, to catch up with what everybody's doing. Yeah, I was going to correct you because you said I was from London. I'm from Manchester, and I was in Manchester today. And like Yvonne was saying, it was a ghost town. It was busy on Market Street, on one street. Everywhere else was an absolute ghost town, and it's kind of heartbreaking. Everywhere's closed. I mean, you know, the government are promising to open it up again, but nobody who's awake, who knows what the real agenda is, has any real faith that is, you know, that is actually going to happen. They're obviously pushing the vaccines, or they're not vaccines. They're pushing the gene therapy shots. They are pushing, you know, obviously with the health passports. We know it's already a thing in Israel. They want it in every country, you know, and it's twofold. So, God, Yvonne mentioned so much. It's like, yeah, that's happening over here. That's what's been happening over here as well. Last May in 2020, I went to one of the, I think it was like the second anti-lockdown protest, and there was 30 of us, maybe a group of 2 groups of 30 of us somewhere, like half as many as the cops were. And then I stood in Trafalgar Square on September the 26th, which is, I don't know, 4 months later, is it? 5 months later. And there were nearly 40,000 people there. So take heart, because it's growing all the time. We started the Light paper back in September. I was on that September date, just before I sang the famous song which I keep talking about. I put up a copy of the first copy of the Light, saying, a few weeks ago we were talking about making this, and now it's here. So it's a case of just getting it done, and hopefully that can be inspiring to other people as well. It's bringing people together. And the whole idea of starting the Light was because of online censorship. We got accused by The Guardian. They did a hit piece, or so they thought on us. And I sent him a text afterwards, the hack, and I said, "Thank you so much for giving us so much kudos for obviously being slagged off by The Guardian. It means we're probably not controlled opposition in a lot of people's eyes." But they were right. They were absolutely right in their headline that we were avoiding the online fact checkers, because we want to share the information that we all get to share, that we all get to hear about, but the general public doesn't know. If you speak to a general masked up person on the street now, you ask them, how many people have actually died after these new vaccines? They'll say none. Which that will be shocking to people. There's over 400 in the UK alone. In the States, there was. I've lost count now. Obviously, increases ridiculously every day. The adverse reactions are in the tens and hundreds of thousands. And just seeing the censorship, it's just disgusting. We just get used to it because they've done it bit by bit. It was Alex Jones last year, and it's bit by now you can't talk about vaccines or even terrain theory. I put up a post about terrain theory and this and what, and I got banned for you know what I mean? It's like, remember. But that's what you want from a social media, isn't it? To be able to not be able to say what you think, and not to be able to hear from your friends, and not to have your friends hear from you. It's the best platform we've ever. Yet here we are still. There we are still on it as well. Funny enough, sorry, I know I'm talking about a zillion things at once, and I hope it's still interesting to people. In the brand new issue of the Light, which has come out today, issue 7. There's a piece, I can't remember where we stole it from, sorry. We didn't ask permission, by the way. But it's about how the big tech censorship it certainly should, be self-destructive, because they're saying to half the customers, go away. We don't want you on our platforms. So, we've got things like Gab, we've got things, you know what I mean? But we haven't got serious billionaires with serious backing going, well, hang on a minute, there's half of the population are conservative, half of the population don't want this woke nonsense. They want to be able to they want free speech. So there's a market for free speech out there, and humans do what humans do, and entrepreneurs do what entrepreneurs do, and it will find a way. We're already taking to the streets. As you said, the police are trying to batten us down, but we're, it's starting again. Protest season is starting again on March the 20th. I know it's a worldwide thing as well. There are events in London and Manchester, so get out. At the end of the day, we're not trying to change the government's mind. We're trying to change people's minds. We're trying to show people that there are thousands and thousands of people that say no to this nonsense. We're calling it out for the nonsense that it is. And anything else we care to put on our placards and hand out flyers. It's vital. The point I'm trying to make, I'll tie it all together, is that the work offline is where everybody should be focused. That's been my soapbox for 12 months virtually, so at least 6 months. That connect online, share information online, organize online, make arrangements online, but to do offline work, whether it's whatever the hell it is, you know what I mean? Obviously we deliver papers and all the rest of it. Art flyers, the lawsuits, everything that we do is where we win. Because there's not going to be a mass awakening, there's not going to be one mass movement, there's not going to be one, because we know what happens to those, and we know if there is a mass movement, it's controlled, and it always gets called out. It's always so obvious because it's too polished, and they go off. They go, hang on, what they were right before, and they've gone wrong now. That's because it's controlled opposition. You know what I mean? If you have to question it, it should be straight down the line all the time. You know what truth is right from the from the head, from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. Yeah. So on the back of the light and how amazingly successful it's been, and that's not because of me, that's because of it was the right thing at the right time. People have absolutely responded to it, and it's grown and grown. We're also starting to, we're building an app called the Free Trade app, which again, it's although it's an app and you connect online, the idea is to actually trade offline. So it encourages local business, encouraging local economies again. Obviously, for activists and truthers and producers and people self-sufficiency, people who want organic food and what have you from around you, it's absolutely perfect. But we'll also provide an escape hatch, because if they carry on with their health IDs and let's face it, most people are still brainwashed and still have a complete control of people's minds. They're wearing two masks was a thing a few weeks ago as well. So they're still going to do that. They're going to, it's going to be, at first it's going to be flying, then it'll be, to stadiums, and we're like, oh my God, that doesn't matter. Then it's restaurants, cafes and pubs. Well, we're going to have our own. Yeah. So let's start doing that now. Let's start connecting. Let's start building those networks and changing our lives accordingly, so we can survive outside when they completely cut us off, because that might be next year, or that might be this year, next year, 2 years, what have you. At some point, we're going to have to survive by ourselves, trading with each other. It can be done as long as there's enough of each other doing it, there's enough of us doing it in each area, and that's what the Free Trade app is aiming to do, is to connect people in your local area. So you go on, whether you're looking for work, whether you're looking for products, whether you're looking for whatever it is, any kind of exchange between humans. There's no charge to use it. There's no fee. It's not like eBay. You don't pay through the site. All you will do is connect. It's more like Google local search, but it adds in things that eBay does, and adds in things that Facebook does, and various other things as well. So we want it to be kind of a really easy workstation app. Go to, if you want work for the day, you want work for the week, or you're looking for a plumber, or whatever it is, whatever you use Google search for, use this instead, and you're directly trading with people. Nobody's stealing your data, nobody's selling your data. The only way we'll raise money is direct sponsor ads. So people will come to us and say, can we put a banner ad on such and such and such and such. There's no targeting, there'll be no data, etc. It will be monitored, because obviously we can't allow criminal behavior on there, otherwise it'll get taken down. Last thing we want is Silk Road. But again, because it's free trade, we're going to give you the choice of what you want to trade with. So most trades will be with cash, but you can also trade. So, look, I'll take metals, I'll take precious metals, I'll take Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, I'll take what have you. So when you're searching, you might only search for those people who take cryptocurrency, and you'll contact them first. Right, okay, you come and fix me tap, and I'll give you whatever it is, a tenth of an era, or whatever you decide between you. But it's basically using modern tech to do ancient things, and the way they don't want us to.
Yeah, I think that is so exciting, and it's, whenever we hear, these uses of technology that, most of us are slamming technology. Because it is, the source of the data harvest, and that has given rise to this data as the new oil, and human capital speculation, and just the track and trace control. So many of us are slamming it, but when you add a little human ingenuity, and especially if you're coming from a place of character and you have a good heart, then we can direct these things toward the good. And I think that's exciting work. And I love how you mentioned, we have to keep it interpersonal. We have to keep it local. We need to be seeing people, and meeting up in bars to talk about things. We have to set up these alternative systems. And I am not one to think that we can escape to the woods. I couldn't anyway, because I make fun of myself for having a brown thumb, but they have technology that can get to us there. So really what what I've always thought is that we have to develop a sort of underground that is much more attractive to human beings than this tyrannical technocratic system that they are rolling out, because nobody wants it. Nobody wants it at all. And I think, maybe at one aspect of that, and you all can weigh in and I'll stop talking here, but, we have to have courageous business owners who are willing to say, I'm going to operate without a license, because like Yzabelaah, you were mentioning, how we really sign away a lot of our rights without even knowing it when we click a form or a box or something. And my sense is that when businesses and restaurants get licenses, at least here in the States, they're giving away those rights to operate. And if we simply say, no, wait, we're not going to get the licenses, and we're not going to patronize businesses that have the licenses, it would save a lot of money. It would take money, it would save money for the business owners, and it would starve government a little bit more. And our government here, I think, needs to be starved, although that's complicated, because if it's too austere, then you have the philanthropy coming in and giving predatory grants. But there's so much to be done there, and I think that maybe all of us are saying that it begins with getting together in person, right?
Yeah, and reclaiming our lives in the private, I think, is really key, because all the schools, they're all in the public domain, and I think if we can reclaim those into the private and really reclaim how we choose to educate our children and how we choose to be with each other.
Yeah. I mean, and that gives rise to the real diversity, right? You have to protect the private in order to have genuine individuals, come out into the public realm. They have to have that background in the private that hasn't been conditioned by the TV and the mass language and the forces that destroy our agency.
The question is what Kilgore said is about overreach, because we trusted the system, the society, to run itself. We existed without paying too much of attention what is going on. That's why I use this term normie, because I never paid attention. I was just into that system. I was just grafting, hustling, working, and I didn't pay attention about things around me, how the whole system works. And like Kilgore said, all of a sudden now we're all becoming an enemy. We're all becoming a terrorist, biohazard, walking sacks of bacteria. It's just lunatic. And the thing is, like, with all of us who connected, this was like maybe that was needed in some sense to wake us up to this. There is one book, sci-fi book, that really made an impression on me when I was a teenager. It is Frank Herbert, Dune. You probably either watched the movie or you got a book. So literally, the whole book starts after humanity had a great war with machines, with AI, presumably, and they decided to kick the technology off their life. So the whole story really starts after a big battle of human civilization with the machines. And then maybe that's what we're heading now. But then again, this world, the notion of freedom as well, will always possess the threat. So we can't have like perfect world, because otherwise we would be having this AI run system where everything runs smoothly, Matrix-like, where we would be connected to the illusion. So obviously, if we want to have 8 or 9 billion of individual human beings coexisting, we have to embrace our differences. And there is no one system that will fit all, but definitely all this situation now is making us aware how the system works and what we really want to spend our precious life for, how we want to live, what we want to leave for next generation. Because I'm guessing we all are doing this not for ourselves, but rather for our children. We're just concerned on the next generation, not really us, because we had this life, we had this experience. We're not afraid. That's why we step up. But that's the challenge.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we unfortunately we don't have enough lawyers. It seems like lawyers disappear, but they are missing in action. So this is what we are conducting right now, is like a guerrilla war, and we are at war, and not too many people realize that yes, we are at war. This is World War III, if you have done enough research. So I always encourage people to come to our events, not be afraid, because people are afraid to come to New York City. They think that there will be Antifa, there will be. No, these rallies are peaceful, and it's for us to unite, to educate each other and to educate the public. And it's all about education, about exposing these evil agendas. People just don't know enough information. So that's what we've been doing. Yeah.
Well,
I just wanted to say,
go ahead.
Just real fast. Yeah, I love what Darren is doing with his app and his his where his head is, and that we all have to unite. We have to create an alternative to the technocratic society that this prison planet that they're creating. I'd like to believe that we can fight back the tide of this tyranny, and that we can give something that resembles normalcy and freedom to our children and our future generations. But if nothing else, we need to network. So if they are able to push through with their agenda, that we will have an alternative where we can live, outside of their system. And even, the technocrats like the World Economic Forum and these top senior people at the United Nations, they even see that as a potential. Like in their essay, right? Welcome to 2030, where I own nothing, I have no privacy, and I've never been happier. Which, who is really going to be happy under those circumstances, other than I guess a bunch of traumatized psychopaths? But in that essay, they envision that there's people that live in the smart grid cities, the smart cities, and they rent everything they need or everything they want. They have no privacy. They share their living space as kind of like this communal space. They have to take autonomous self-driving cars if they want to go wherever the cars will take them. They can't go beyond that because that would be the forbidden zone. But there's those that didn't go along with it. And in the essay, they theorize that there's whole, swaths of humanity that won't go along with that and will live outside of their system in 19th century style villages, in their words. And to me, that doesn't sound that bad. Compared to the alternative, I'm okay with the 19th century style village. So maybe we can all get there, and we can all, Darren can lead us in a song around the campfire.
Yeah. Well, I think there's so many things that we can do, for viewers who are watching and might not be in a position to be able to say things as publicly as the six of us have done. I would say get in touch with someone locally who is speaking out, and maybe ask if you can give them a hand with research or organization. That would be, I know on my end, I could use help with, just tracing some of the local power networks and putting it in a format that we could distribute. And I think, I could use some help. I have 4 young kids, so it's hard for me to go staple flyers to the 5G poles, but there are needs for people to do things like that, to design yard signs. And, so much of this runs on reputation capital. It's branding, it's optics, it is playing on people's desire to look good in the eyes of others. So, I think one of our best weapons in a guerrilla warfare is to get the corruption out in front of the public. I mean, you show people the dirty things that are going on, And that takes these brands down a notch. So, you know, I try to do that with a local foundation that is doing terrible things here, you know, and I say their name and say, this is what's going on. And, you know, in a small city, I think that that is pretty effective. And so if we can chip away at the brands that, of, you know, the woke brands and the corporatist brands and the harmful, dehumanizing brands, and that is, you know, there are creative ways to do that, cheap ways to do that, and ultimately ways that get us, you know, in touch with friends and neighbors that are in our areas. So
Absolutely, Julia. Vote, you
you know,
vote with your wallet. You can vote every day. People wait for protests or happenings or events, and you know, and they're great. But every single day, we choose where to buy our eggs, where to buy our milk, where to buy our etc. etc. So, you know, you are voting, you are protesting, you are making a difference with that, because if everybody did it, their system collapses.
yeah,
That's it.
But we don't have to rely on a mass movement. You know, we there's enough of us anyway. But even if it was just 6 people on the in the whole earth, well, we're pulling out of their crappy technocratic system. Fair enough, but there's a whole lot more than 6 people. So there's enough of a division of labour there to do that. We don't have to go and live in the woods. We can live pretty much parallel to them, but they have to do whatever jobs they're told to, and we still get to choose. We, you know, obviously, you know, to a certain extent, but we'll still get to choose the jobs that we want to do, and the way we want to live, and the food that we want to, and you know, and that I suppose that's how life should be. But more, here's the other thing that I said to somebody earlier today: we will not diminish in number. So we might be 1% of people right now, but that's not going to sort of half of us are not going to go, I've had enough of being awake and knowing the truth. I'm going to go back to trying to be asleep. I want to give me the blue pill. You know, I want to remember nothing and all the rest. It just doesn't happen. So we're only going to grow. The more work we do now, the more infrastructure, the more groundwork, more networks, more connection, etc., etc. Everything that we do now will, you know, can help all those people that will come on board over the coming months and years as the Street Titans.
yeah. Well, thank you guys so much. I mean, I could talk to you guys forever, but I know it's late in the UK, and I know that everyone here is engaged in so many things. But maybe we can find a time to do this again and get all of the Five Eyes surveillance network involved, and you know, we'll be in touch on Facebook, and I think many of us have websites, and we'll try to get some links up underneath maybe Kilgore's channel, if we can add some links for people who want to know more and connect with us. So thank you all, and solidarity in the struggle.
Thank you, everyone. It was a
Thank
pleasure. Great. Thank you for including me. Thanks.
Great speaking. Have a great night.
Have a good
Okay.
night, everyone. Bye.
Good night. Good night.
Bye.
Bye. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.